This is the Right Guys podcast, where it's Trump versus Biden in the showdown of the millennium. And now your hosts, Max McGuire and James Hammer.
Welcome back. Another edition of the Right Guys podcast. Happy Good Friday, Josh.
Happy Good Friday to you. And, we celebrate the resurrection of our good Lord Jesus Christ. So, if you're only going to go to church twice a year, this is one of the days to do it on Sunday. So, you know who your priesters are.
It
but
is.
Dude,
Before we get into this, did you see this story out of the UK that they are no longer calling Easter eggs Easter eggs?
Why?
Because the general take I have on this is that the people who are buying these chocolates for Easter are becoming a minority in terms of who's celebrating Easter.
Yeah.
London is the brownest city in Europe. Muslim Indian migration. They are no longer calling them Easter eggs. What are they calling them? They're calling them gesture eggs.
Wow. Talk about completely erasing Christianity from the UK.
Because they don't want to offend the people who like chocolate but don't celebrate Easter.
But it's Easter candy, specifically marketed for users of Easter.
Yeah.
Wow. A war on Christianity. I mean, we've seen it over the years. Is it really surprising? I mean, I am a little shocked by that. I mean, why would Cadbury pull that off? I mean, I
just in the UK. Just in the UK.
But I have seen that people going to church and the number of Christians out there is still dropping, right? I mean, there's not a lot of people joining the cause anymore, which is exactly what the Bible said.
Not as much anymore. Listen, I was with someone the other day and they had to take a work call. And at the end of the work call, they said, "Happy Holidays." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Happy Holidays." I said, what holiday? What are you talking about? "Oh, well, they might not celebrate Easter." Okay, well, there's two. It can either be Easter or I guess Passover, technically.
Yeah.
But if they're not Jewish, and you know they're not Jewish, then there's no reason to say Happy Holidays. It's just the genericization of Easter is really, really shameful, and we see it happen every year. But I just want to bring this up because this shocked me. When you're in the Easter egg business, to stop calling them Easter eggs because you don't think the majority of your clients celebrate Easter is a pretty wild development.
Man, it is shocking. It's sad at the same time. I mean, if you're a Christian, spread the word. I mean, it only becomes more popular if you talk to people about it. Again, you know what I mean? So that's your thing. Go for it. You muted yourself, my friend, by accident.
Oh, sorry. Well, we have a bit to talk about today. We are pre-recording today because it's completely selfish reason. My school, Boston College, has a hockey game in the NCAA tournament today.
I thought it was going to be something like family wants to go to SeaWorld or something.
No, unrelated to Good Friday, unrelated to Easter.
What are they playing for? Watch championship?
It's the NCAA hockey tournament, men's hockey tournament.
Dude, great. I didn't realize you were such a hockey fan, my friend.
Yeah.
I love the Avs here in Colorado.
Yeah.
They're rocking it.
Boston College. DU won last night. DU won. They beat UMass. So
Pioneers have been a tough team for a long time, and so it's cool. I mean, we've got a hockey. It's not a hockey town here in Denver, but it's a hockey town. People love their hockey. They're loving their basketball right now too.
Yeah,
Nuggets are on fire, right?
Oh,
and the best basketball player in the country right now is probably Jokic. I'm saying his name wrong. They call him Joker. Dude is on fire. Like he is setting. He's outpacing his MVP run on the year they won the championship, or he's at least there or meeting it, and it's wild. So, two championships in Denver.
Yeah, 2 championships. Boston College is ranked number 1 in the country. So, for hockey. Yeah, so hopefully they can go far and win this tournament.
Good luck, man.
Thank you. You know who who isn't doing well? We'll get all the sports out of the way.
Yeah. We love sports. Don't get us wrong.
Oakland Athletics.
Oh,
there
no.
was a massive protest. The Oakland Athletics are trying to move to Vegas.
Yeah.
And abandon Oakland. And so the Vegas deal has kind of gotten slowed up. So they're kind of in a no man's land of like having to continue playing in Oakland, but everyone knows they're literally ditching the city, right?
Yeah.
It's not like other teams where they're like, okay, we're leaving, then they're gone. No, this has been like a really slow burn. Yeah. So yesterday, opening day attendance was 13,000 people. And that was and they didn't report turnstiles. They didn't report turnstiles. Those are tickets purchased.
That's it. For those who don't know, that's like nothing.
Yes.
At a stadium like this, like you're moving people down to the lower bowl and the lower seats so you can film, so it looks good on TV, right? They'll never show you the upper stands, and they're not going to televise an A's game that's outside of market because there's nobody watching, and they're not. And they're not. The team's not going to invest too, right?
No, and just to be clear, the stadium holds 63,000 people. 13,000 was the number of tickets sold. They didn't do the turnstiles because far few actually went in. So there's a massive protest now where everyone went to the stadium but didn't go inside. They just tailgated the whole time, and that was their protest.
And if you're an Oakland fan, like, you've got to hate Vegas at this point, right? They have stolen your football team.
Yeah.
Stealing your baseball team. Like, the Raiders have been notorious for just leaving town for a night, right? And when they could, they did. They went straight to Vegas. And now everybody else is going to follow. I just don't believe there should be sports towns in the capital of betting in the world. You know what I mean? I think that's a dirty relationship too.
Listen,
but there's money to be spent and people to watch.
I can't stand it either. San Antonio had a minor league hockey team, San Antonio Rampage, and Las Vegas bought them too. So it's just I'm in the same boat. Dude. In the same exact boat. Well, we got some political stuff to talk about. I just wanted to get all that other stuff out of the way.
I'm ready for
roll up my sleeves.
Stuff. Yeah.
Really tragic story in New York. Officer Jonathan Diller murdered during a traffic stop. Really disgusting. This happens far too often in New York City. Really disgusting. Repeat offenders involved where they shouldn't be on the street. They should be locked up, like multiple felonies. And so yesterday was his wake. And obviously you had Donald Trump attend the wake. Really kind words afterwards he gave from the podium, a little mini press conference. Joe Biden was in New York City too, but instead of attending the wake and offering his condolences to Officer Diller's widow and 9-month-old kid who will never know their father, instead of that, Joe Biden was at a swanky $50,000 a plate fundraiser dinner, $500,000 plate. Sorry,
$500,000. $500,000 zero.
It's so big, it doesn't even hit my mind as like a real thing. $500,000 plate fundraiser dinner with Barack Hussein Obama, Bill Clinton, and a cast of characters of leftist shills. Yeah. Lizzo
hosted by Colbert.
Hosted by Stephen Colbert. Lizzo was there. Lizzo, famously known for sexual harassment lawsuits against her. If Donald Trump had held a fundraiser and the guest of honor performer was a sexual harasser, sexual abuser alleged, I think that would be the top story of the year for the left.
Yeah, and it would run all the way until November. Yes. They put Joe Biden in front of the White House with a bunch of red lights behind him and give another speech. Right, that's the kind of stops they would pull out. But it happens at one of these parties, and everybody celebrates her for being out there and being so brave to come out and help the president. And it's shallow. I mean,
it certainly is. It certainly is.
Shallow.
New York Post took notice. Trump attends wake for killed hero, New York PD cop, as 3 Dem presidents shut down city for glitzy $25 million fundraiser. I think that's also it. It's not just that it's a really expensive fundraiser. When you have 3 presidents in one place at the same time, that, especially New York City, where everyone has somewhere to be, somewhere to go,
Right.
that grinds the entire city to a halt. It really does. The security, I mean, it's kind of like when the United Nations is in session and world leaders are flying in. If you've ever been to New York City, anyone who has at that time, you know it's just chaos to try and get anywhere in Manhattan, because the security perimeter and everything is just so much tighter. Going in through the tunnels is harder. Going across the bridges is harder, takes longer. It's just a real pain in the ass. Which is one of the reasons that Donald Trump, when he was president for his first term, he chose often not to go back to New York because of the strain being in New York would put on the city. Also, it would really piss off his tenants in Trump Tower. It's really hard to get someone to pay top dollar for apartment and condo space when you've made their life miserable by locking down the block.
Yeah. All of downtown sometimes, depending on the route they take in, right? And
Yeah.
for those who don't know, even when the president's not there, that's a tough commute. Like it is
Oh yeah. Oh, it's hard
unreal.
either way. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard no matter what. So to see 3 of these presidents completely tone deaf on a day that a cop was killed, the wake for a cop who was killed
Yeah.
by a career criminal, someone who should have been locked up, had it not been for Democrats' insistence that we release the violent criminals, right? Bail reform, cashless bail, all that stuff that has put violent offenders onto the streets. It's historically tone deaf. And I think when Donald Trump does win in November, I think we're going to look back on this moment and we're going to see that this was not only a moment that led him to victory. I think this is going to be a moment that made New York either too close to call or even in Trump's favor.
Wow.
Because people,
Wow.
Josh, people are pissed. People are
Yeah,
pissed. Like legitimately,
crap holes. Yeah.
They are installing metal detectors, body scanners in the subways, Josh. In the subways.
Jeez, man.
In the subways. They just had a trend. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. They just had a trend this past week of high schoolers, not really high school, thugs, right? Thugs on TikTok going up to women in New York and just punching them in the face and recording it. There were 7, I believe, last time I checked, 7 women who were punched in the face in the same day in New York, all because it was a TikTok trend. It's a TikTok trend.
Good God. They're doing it for likes. This is when society begins to collapse, man. Like this is dangerous stuff. The next step is, if you're willing to harm them in the streets for likes, what are you going to do when you need to up it to get more likes? And you're trying to get that dopamine hit off of what you do. You're going to just start amping things up, and there's no one there to stop you. What's going to happen when they get arrested? They're going to go. They're going to get booked. There's no bail. They're out in 4 hours, right? 3 hours if they're caught, right? If somebody's taking the time to look for them. If the detectives are actually looking into it, because there's so much going on in New York right now, that's probably not the highest priority on law enforcement's list right now. Because just dealing with the subways in New York right now are a complete nightmare. I mean, it is nothing but
sure.
Social media fights for social media, mental health issues showing up. I mean, there was people that are just defecating on the escalators in and out of some of these places. It's just turning into a complete nightmare of a city.
Oh, for sure. So this was a New York City Council member, Amanda Farias. She retweeted a Women's Caucus NYC post. Women's Caucus said, "We're deeply disturbed and concerned about widespread reports of attacks against women in New York City." And a councilwoman for New York City says, "Where are the men calling this out? Where are the men calling this out?" And Josh, do you know what the first thing that people responded with?
Toxic masculinity. There's no men left. What?
Remember this guy?
I remember the Subway Hero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Subway Hero.
Did
the name completely just escaped me right now. He sees someone threatening to kill everyone on the train.
Yeah.
Puts him in a headlock, right, to stop him. The crazy guy. He was literally saying, "I'm going to kill everyone on this train." Puts him in a headlock, and he's charged with murder.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. If you want to know where are the where I just lost it. Where are
all the men?
Yeah, where are all the men? Well, the men are you're either throwing them in prison, or you've put into them a fear of being prosecuted should they dare stand up and defend someone. Like whether you should have put him in a headlock, that's neither here nor there. If someone gets on a train and says, "I'm going to kill you all," right? A threat of deadly force. A headlock is a proportional response to a threatening deadly force against everyone. It just is.
Yeah.
In every state in the nation, if you have a fair jury where the media hasn't painted you to be this white supremacist nonsense, you get off, because it is a proportional response to put someone in a headlock if they're threatening to murder you. Period. Full stop. This guy wasn't a police officer. He didn't have to deal with use of force restrictions and guidelines. That's different, right? Cops have rules, and they can do something, they can't do other things. They have use of force restrictions, right? Now, that doesn't mean that a cop wouldn't be able to use a headlock if his life truly was in danger, but he'd lose his job for sure, and he might actually be prosecuted for excessive force. But just a passerby on a subway, this is why people aren't jumping in to defend other people when you see women getting cold cocked in the streets.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, could you imagine like an African-American teenager punching a woman? You step in, punch the teenager, he falls over, dies, right? And all of a sudden you're being branded as a white supremacist, a hate crime. It's just not worth it. A murderer. It just isn't worth it. It isn't worth it. And in a society where they're doing everything possible to stop law-abiding citizens from defending themselves in public, right? They've cut policing, all for the migrants. They have to cut the policing to pay for the illegal aliens, right? They have made it next to impossible for you to defend yourself in New York City. They've made practically everything a sensitive place. Sure, Supreme Court forces them to let you have a carry permit, but oopsie daisy, everything's a sensitive place. You can't
go anywhere with it. And you can't even have body armor. So if you were to try to arm yourself up just for protection, you can't have it in New York, right?
Yeah.
They have completely disarmed the populace who's just looking to protect itself. They have armed all the bad guys, thugs, and illegal aliens that are there to do harm to people. Like, it's easier for thugs to get off too.
It's hard to see this, but they've actually put up signage on the street lights in Times Square. Sorry, just like a no turn on red sign. Instead, this is a gun-free zone sign. An entire neighborhood is just a gun-free zone.
And nobody's got, like, the way you fight this is you get arrested for it and you sue, right? But who has the money to put up the fight? And they know that, right? It's going to happen sometime. And it's only going to change when somebody had the opportunity to protect themselves or does, and they're the ones that goes to jail for it, right? It becomes a national story. But nobody's going to run with it. You know, which of the 24 hours is going to talk about it? Who's going to print it? You know, maybe the New York Post right now, they're starting to see things. They're starting to act like journalists over at the New York Post, right? And they've still got a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong, but they're starting to act that way. And that's the only way it's going to get noticed. It may already be happening. They're not talking about it because they'll do everything in the power to make sure that it doesn't get shown that people need to be able to protect themselves in New York. They'd rather have this crazy town of mob rule where gangs are running around with weapons and kids are just cold cocking people for the sport of it to put on the internet for likes. Think about where society has fallen now because of that. I'll never live there. I love New York.
Rumor on Twitter that yesterday New York NYPD officers wanted to stand behind Trump during his press conference. But the rumor is that NYPD officials blocked officers from standing behind him. So at the last minute, Nassau and Long Island police officers had to stand behind him because the NYPD was blocked.
Unbelievable. Last I checked, if you're a cop, you still have every right to vote for who you want for. How is it bad to have a press conference with a guy who's running for president who has been president before? I would love to have my picture taken with him. You know what I mean? I'd love to sit there and stand by him and support him. But imagine that your department is so liberal and corrupt. They prevent you from even exercising your political point of views. I mean, sure, they're in their blues and there's a code of conduct, but who gets like
just a week or two after Letitia James was booed during a promotion ceremony at the FDNY, New York Fire Department. Originally, FDNY said that they were going to go through security footage and hunt down the firefighters who dared to boo or jeer or express any displeasure at Letitia James.
Yeah.
And they said, come forward and confess and it'll be easier on you. If we have to track you down and hunt you down, the penalty will be more severe. Now, they've since walked that back. But that was the original response. Which isn't all that surprising if this woman is prosecuting Donald Trump for BS and she goes into the FDNY, she is persona non grata. She is not welcome there by the rank and file firefighters, right?
Yeah. And you're allowed to feel that way. You're allowed to do those things.
If it was reversed, and it was
God.
Trump and FDNY firefighters booing Trump, the FDNY would have said that's the constitutional right of everyone to express their displeasure. It would be completely reversed.
All over the media because they would love to shine that negative light on Trump, right? They would love that sunlight. It would just be delicious to them. They just eat it up, right? But it's just the opposite. Can't point out what they're doing. That's how fascist governments work, though, Max. You know, suppress and lie to your face. You have to believe the narrative. I don't care what your eyes and your ears are telling you. You must follow the narrative. You must believe the story.
Said before, it's a famous quote from George Orwell. Ignore what wasn't right in front of your eyes. It was the party's last and most important command, something like that, paraphrased from 1984. $500,000 a plate at this dinner. And Josh, the amazing thing is a protester got it. So what I want to know is, did that protester pay $500,000 to disrupt Joe Biden, or did they sneak in? Were they part of the staff? More likely they were part of like the bus boy staff or the wait staff.
Yeah, that got hired for the event.
More likely
you did lay down 500.
Yeah.
But if you had $500,000 that you could just blow and you wanted to make it happen, like I'm gonna tip my hat to that person. That's like a donation right, to the cause almost.
Here is the clip.
There was an insurrection.
Shame on you, Joe Biden! Shame on you! Shame on you! You are funding genocide in Palestine, and no amount of full concern that you will change the billions that you are doing. You did blood on your hands!
Wow.
Blood on your hands!
Woo! Like you never saw that in stuff in the past, right? Like you never. No. It started with people like protesting at Trump stuff. You know, there were plans, obviously, from donors and groups and stuff like that. But now that the Dems are getting a taste of what protesters do, right? They realize how that looks. I mean, they spent all their time blowing this big 3 president event up, trying to make it the big number boost for Joe Biden. And you're still getting hammered by protesters in there. In fact, outside of New York, or outside of the building in, I think it was Times Square where I was at, people were lining the streets. Now, there were a lot of Palestinian protesters, but man, there's a lot more people hating Joe Biden at his events than there are hating Donald Trump at his, right? How many people actually like Biden at his events? Donald Trump gets stadiums fills. Donald Trump fills more stadiums than the Oakland Athletics.
For sure. And listen, back in the day, the craziest thing that would happen at a Democrat rally would be a bird landing on Bernie Sanders' podium.
Right.
Right? Like that was, and look at everyone in the background. They're like,
Right,
like a much simpler time. A much simpler time. A bird lands on the podium and everyone thinks it's like God speaking to them. Right?
Like
That was the craziest thing. That was the craziest thing that would happen.
Over him. Yeah.
Now you have Democrats. In fairness, it is not that wild for a far leftist to be upset about Joe Biden's Israel policy. It's not like unheard of. Joe Biden isn't doing what the base of his party wants him to do, right? They're batshit crazy. Israel has every right to defend itself, 100%, right? But of course this is going to happen, right? If you support what Israel's doing, of course the left is going to come for your head. Of course. The funny thing.
Go ahead, man. It's blowing me away. It's just so gross. Like, and they get away with it. And the media doesn't even talk about the protests. Because if this was the same protesting at a Trump rally, that'd make the news cycle, right? But this
100%.
This just disappears into like the social media
100%.
sphere. If it wasn't for X or Twitter, most people wouldn't know.
So Joe Biden doesn't come down the big stairs anymore because that's too many stairs. Coming down the big stairs of Air Force One, it's too many opportunities for him to fall. And he's an old man. He falls. Yeah. If you can cut the number of stairs in half, it's probably good, I guess. But this really made me laugh. Joe Biden historically has a hard time entering and leaving the stage.
Yeah.
Right? He can't figure out where he's supposed to go, can't climb the stairs,
Right.
wanders around.
He needs a leash. I mean, he really does. I mean, that in the nicest possible way, right?
So at this event, instead of having him walk on stage and follow the stage directions, they just had him come up out of the floor with the chairs already there.
Like a rock concert entrance.
Yeah. Can't find your way to the mark? Don't worry, we'll rise you up.
Well, right, is that right?
Yeah.
It's like they're coming from the bottom and they're rising to the top. Like, just hilarious.
Yeah.
Is Colbert with them? I mean, does he come up with them, or is it just for those three? And that was like
just for those three. Everyone else can figure their shit out. But
every
Joe
time
Biden.
I see Bill Clinton, all I can think is like Juanita Broderick, the blue dress. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people sit there and idolize him like he's some sort of mad genius when he got elected. And then Obama's up there, that murderous ass blowing up Americans. I wonder if he's ever sold a house where he overvalued it. Pull a John Stewart.
100%. 100%.
That's all I'm saying.
I can't stand the gaslighting, right? Like, if Barack Obama was to run today on his platform in 2008, they'd crucify him for it. His platform in 2008 was nothing like the Democrat Party platform. No gay marriage, right?
Yeah.
Secure the border. Like, he had, it wouldn't work. If you took Bill Clinton's policies in 1992 and tried to run them today, he'd be laughed off the stage. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
They give him a Tulsi Gabbard treatment.
They run him out of town. Yeah. And if you got a job at NBC or ABC, they fire him too, right?
But now they treat him like a rock star. He's coming up out of the ground, out of the earth like a rock star. Like, oh, he's the best of us. He's a Republican by today's standards.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. He's like not like a conservative Republican. He's like a Susan Collins kind of Republican.
Yeah.
But
a liberal Republican, right?
Yeah. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska kind of Republican. That's what Bill Clinton would be today. And yet he gets the rock star treatment. That means one of two things. Either they think that people are just dumb enough. Maybe they are dumb enough to think that he actually supports what they're all about. Or he actually has been a far leftist all the time, but he had to say what he had to say in order to get elected, which I think it's probably a combination of both.
Sure. He's trying to get elected at the time, and that was the popular sentiment, right? I mean, he was trying to get as many.
He's a Democrat from Arkansas.
Moderate voters. Yeah. Like
an Arkansas Democrat. Come on.
What's really funny about this whole thing is that typically, if Barack Obama held a fundraiser, like he didn't need the support of another president to show up.
No.
When Bill Clinton ran a fundraiser, he didn't need the support of a prior president to show up. Everyone thinks this is a show of unity and strength from the Democrats, but really it's not. What it's showing is that Joe Biden is the weakest candidate in the past 75 years.
Yeah.
His numbers are not abysmal. They are like the scum at the bottom of the barrel, right? And he needs these two guys to help prop his ass up. Just literally, they probably have to prop him up physically because the dude just can't stand on his own. But there's nothing going on up there, right? Nobody supports this dude. There's not this blue wave out there that's super excited, like during the Obama, like the hope posters. I don't see a Biden hope poster up anywhere.
Oh no,
like
no.
He's weak.
No. The closest thing I've seen is a T-shirt with Joe Biden wearing a Christmas hat, like a Santa hat, and it just says Happy Easter. That's his version of hope, right? I mean, like that kind of thing.
I like that.
That kind of thing.
Easter.
They were charging $100,000 for someone to take a picture with all three presidents.
$100,000.
$100,000.
So what do you do? Show up with cash? So is it a credit card thing?
It's a donate on top. In order to get into that tier, you had to pay at least $100,000.
So $500,000 a plate, $100,000 a photo. That's a lot of big wig money. That's like going like who has that kind of cash?
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is walking around and just taking as many pictures as he can.
Yeah.
Right. He's walking around to all the different police officers, firefighters, people at this wake, taking pictures, offering his condolences. It really is an incredible juxtaposition side by side of the $500,000 plate dinner versus Trump with the people, with blue collar firefighters, police officers, workers, family members, grieving with them. And the left always loves to say, like, oh, tax the rich, tax the rich. But they never really have a problem with these rich, right? Yeah. It's always the amorphous, undescribed rich. But what people don't understand is that they'll never be invited to that party. The average Democrat will never be invited, will never be allowed in that party. They'll never get within 8 feet of Joe Biden.
No.
I guarantee you that once November comes around, they'll be drawing the circles at Biden's events again. Say, oh, bad flu year. Only let 8 people into our events again. Just to try and push off the fact that no one likes them. When we talked about this last week, in terms of polling with African Americans, Hispanics, it's so bad for Biden that New York might be in play.
That's the crazy statement. Like,
yeah.
Like I thought New York would have more of a change, or California would have more of a change than New York when it comes to politics and that demographic switch. But that's a bold claim. I hope it happens. Like that would be
Well, let's think about it. For every people move in and out of New York all the time, right?
Yeah.
But in the last year, that migration has been predominantly made up of illegal aliens.
Yeah.
So New York isn't benefiting from an influx of people who can vote in this federal election. Now, we have our theories about how they might try to vote, have the votes counted. But legally, they're not bringing in people who can vote in the election. So what they're left with are the people who either are committed to New York and think nothing's wrong, which are a very small minority, or the people who don't have enough money to leave.
Yeah.
Because everyone with the money to leave have already left.
Right. Because they know better, right? I mean, Sean Hannity left, Rush Limbaugh left. How many of the big names, how many elite have left, right? Because you got to remember, this dinner, this isn't the rank and file Democrats. This is their elite buddies, the ones who get favors done when you donate $500,000 a plate and you bring 15 of your friends, right? That's a group of elites, right? And those elites, if they believe, they stay in New York. But if you're in that group that does have the money to get out, you're gone. Right, because your taxes are through the roof. Your taxes are about to go up even higher. Like there's already a deficit, right? There's no business. All those office buildings are empty. There's no tax base left to pay for a lot of the stuff in New York because they leave. So, maybe you're right. Maybe there will be enough of a shift and a change that New York's in play. And if that's the case, man, that's New York. New York's Donald Trump's. Oh. You know what I mean?
You see things like this. This was outside, as you're talking about, outside his Radio City Music Hall fundraiser, if you take these people at their word, they're not voting for Joe Biden.
No.
Right?
They're most likely not going to vote for anybody.
So the really radicalized leftist, like core constituency, like college students, at least in New York City, right? They are so angry at him. Many of them are refusing to vote, just like all those people in Dearborn, Michigan, who showed up at the polls just to vote none of the above, right?
Yeah.
So the protest vote, listen, you have to hope. You have to hope, but the stars might be aligning to start seeing some of these areas becoming much more competitive than we ever would have thought. And listen, the Democrats are going to try and say, oh, my body, my choice, vote for your uterus. It's really hard. It's a really hard pitch to make when people can't afford food on the table, right? It's a really hard pitch to make when you're struggling to pay your rent or your mortgage. So
it's really hard to sell when you've got a squatter in your basement that you can't get
Yeah.
out. And this is a form of your income, right? Like you buy that property and you bank on that you plan on that income to help feed your property cash, right? And that's gone because squatters have more rights and they only have to be there like 3 days or something.
Yeah. They write up a fake lease.
Yep.
Florida just passed a new law. Excellent.
So.
Makes it a felony to advertise someone else's property. So you can get everyone on it. Have you seen The Squatter Hunter?
Yeah, I know the dude you're talking about. I think so.
Yeah. His whole business model is basically if you own a house and someone's squatting it, you as the landlord can't do anything. But if the squatter hunter signs a lease for the same property, then there are competing leases.
Yeah.
And so he says, okay, just sign the lease. I'll sign the lease. You give me permission to enter your property. And he says, and I'll do what I do.
I'll do what I do.
And that's all he says. That's all.
Yeah.
Like if you ask him, how do you get them off? He said, I have my ways. I have my ways.
Genius business model, and I tip my hat to him, right? Like, that's what that's what the good people of New York have to resort to, right? And the good people of New York are seeing their kids kicked out of schools to house illegal aliens. You're seeing roving bands of gangs on New York City streets robbing people, punching people in the face. You can't get on the New York subway without seeing somebody doing something absolutely horrendous over in the corner. Rape, violence, murder, stabbings, shootings, I think, still happen down there. Even though that's the most gun-regulated gun in the state, and you can't have guns in sensitive places, those criminals sure do end up bringing them into spaces all the time. It's only the good people in New York who can defend themselves. And this is, the protest vote used to be a vote for the Democrats that they could rely on. They got 90+% of that protester vote, and now they don't have it. And they're losing 20% of their base amongst African Americans. I mean, this is going to be a different
on TikTok. There's a woman who has the handle Awesome Sweet Tea, and she's going through a squatter situation right now, and she has all of her stories on here. But this one infuriated me when I watched it this morning. See if you can see it. The squatter had a yard sale. So the squatter's in her house.
Squatter had a yard sale at her house.
in her house, took the expensive property, put it on the lawn, sold it, put it on Facebook Marketplace, listed it for sale under his real name at her address. She went to the police, showed the police the receipt that, no, I bought this. This is physically mine. This man broke into my house. He's now stealing my property and selling it.
Yeah.
And the police said, squatters' rights. I don't think we can touch it.
How long before people take the law in their own hands? Because they will see themselves being robbed. Squatters back in the day were dealt with in a way that was often violent, right? Especially before there was true law enforcement. On the frontier, if you tried to squat something, people took you off it, right? Sheriff would just drag your ass out of there.
It's your livelihood. If you're taming the wild frontier, the American West, you build a log cabin and you travel to town and you come back and someone else is trying to live in your log cabin. If you don't remove them, you're dead by winter, right? It's just, that's how it goes. I'm waiting for these to start becoming home invasions. Because if you own the house, like there are people who say they go on vacation and they come back and someone's living in their house. Well, obviously
That's
this is
not
happening.
somebody.
This is happening in a lot of anti-gun states where this is predominant, but it's also happening in states that are very pro-gun. So you get in your house and someone else is living in your house and they raise their voice to you and they step towards you and they threaten you. That's a home invasion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
You have a right and responsibility to defend yourself.
Yeah. Like legitimate disputes between landlords and tenants, fine, right? That's legitimate. But if this is your home and you're just invading it, you're a home invader. And I'm waiting for some of these people to start getting a taxpayer relief shot.
Wow. What's to stop them?
It's
Just
going to happen.
dragging
It's
you
going to
out?
happen.
Yeah, because what does stop them from walking into your home, just dragging your ass out in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah.
And then locking the doors behind you.
Yeah.
Suddenly they got a squatter's right? That's a home invasion. But how do you protect yourself? The good people of New York can't have a handgun, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if
I just can't.
they would be allowed to have a
imagine.
handgun in their own home, but if the squatter takes over the house and it's become your home, and can you carry your own gun in your own home?
Yeah. I just can't imagine going on vacation for like a week or two and coming back and there's someone living in your house and the police say there's nothing you can do about it. And the police saying you have to keep paying your utilities. You have to pay for the air conditioning. You have to pay for the electric, or you get fined or imprisoned.
It's 3 times the lease agreement. So, and that's what you would be paying. So they're not only living there,
insane.
and if you turn off, you get 3 times the mortgage payment.
Yeah,
you're giving like an $8,000 check.
Absolutely insane. And as I warned on a podcast a couple episodes, they're now finding that there are illegal alien forums being set up online, coaching illegal aliens how they can get to the United States, squat and steal people's homes.
How is that
exactly what I warned was going to happen when they stopped paying for the shelters?
Anywhere else in the world, that's called an invasion, and if you don't do anything to stop it, you die.
Yep,
you will die. Like your livelihood is gone. How many people have their wealth wrapped up into their house? 95% of America, right? That is the true wealth builder, is buying your property and selling it, right? And sitting on that. And if somebody could just walk in and steal that from you, what's left for the good people of anywhere left to do?
None.
There's nothing unless and we do not call for violence here, but that's where people historically go, right? History has told us that you can only go so far before it becomes violent in some way. We don't want
No, you steal someone's house, you steal someone's livelihood. The bank doesn't care. You have to still pay that mortgage, right? You steal someone's life. Yeah, you're gonna be met with violence. And again, we don't encourage violence. I do think that in a situation like that, it's a lot cheaper and easier for someone to exercise their right to self-defense in their own home than go through a civil process of proving that the squatters are squatters. But you can only push people so far. You can only push people so long before they realize that everything's terrible, right?
Yeah,
and
everything's
do you see
being
this?
stolen from me.
Do you see this report out of Canada? I'm gonna try and see if I can find it. It was from the Mounted Police. Warning that Canadians may revolt. This is a legitimate report compiled by the Canadian Royal Mounted Police or whatever it is. Royal Canadian Mounted Police. There you go. Secret police report warns Canadians may revolt once they realize how broke they actually are under Trudeau, as many under 35s are unlikely to ever be able to buy a home. Woo. So once the honeymoon phase ends of the, oh wow, free stuff, once people realize just how generationally screwed they are, how they will never buy a home because more people are coming in than homes are being built, right? Property are rising through the roof. They're actually preparing for the possibility of open revolt once people realize they've been sold a false bill of goods and they're actually really, really poor.
Yeah,
so that's fun.
And so you can copy and paste that on like Georgia, Louisiana.
Oh, it's the same.
New York, right? California, Colorado. I mean, who can buy a house out here now? The city of Denver doesn't even list houses in some of their stuff that are under $500,000.
Yeah,
that's crazy to me, right? Nothing like that exists. Most of the people in these blue states are going to realize that they're never going to be able to own a home because of the free stuff, and free stuff being given to people who aren't even citizens of this country, right?
Yeah.
Being given to invaders.
Yeah.
With more rights because they can buy a gun without a background check.
Yeah, it's going to happen here too. There's going to be the realization here too. There's going to be people in the center, people maybe a little bit on the left, who are going to realize that they've been sold a fake bill of goods. That the White House press secretary getting out there and saying, "Oh, the economy is strong, unemployment is down, right? Inflation is down." People are going to eventually continue to wake up and say, "What the f are you talking about?
Yeah.
I can't afford bananas anymore." I mean, like it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So no, there's nothing unique about this report in Canada. It's just it's leaked in Canada before it's leaked here. I guarantee there are identical reports that have been written here as well.
Yeah, and especially when you got DHS, Department of Homeland Security, like bent on this stuff, listening for these things.
Oh,
How
yeah.
often are they?
Oh, yeah.
Are they turning the surveillance state against us to make sure it doesn't happen? And then they move in, right? They don't like your post on the on a website, and the FBI comes rolling up to your house.
That is happening.
That's already happening, right?
Yeah,
it's going to happen more often. Who's that poor lady? What state was it? Was it Georgia that was posting something, and the local
Oklahoma
FBI shows up and starts questioning her about it. Now, they never showed badges or anything, but that's like a secret police showing up to your house, asking you why you asked stuff like that. Like that stuff happens in the old Soviet Union. That stuff happens in China.
Yeah. I saw one of them.
Now Oklahoma.
They actually came to this woman's house, and it might be the Oklahoma one, berated her and were questioning her because she had the audacity to criticize a repeat violent offender who committed a crime. That was her tweet. Wow. And she condemned him. She condemned the politicians for letting him out. And that got the FBI on her doorstep.
And that is apparently a threat now. It's not the people who are murdering Lake and Riley, right? No. Who had no business being here. That's not the problem. The problem is the good people of America that simply just want their story heard. It's called the First Amendment. But the FBI doesn't care anymore. The CIA doesn't care. The ATF doesn't care.
Nope.
None of them do. Stop paying your taxes one day. See what happens to you. Are any of the illegal invaders paying taxes on a rate that you and I? Do you own a business?
That's the other part of it. I put this in my book. I always bring it up. Not only do they not pay taxes, they don't sign up for selective service, so they're not in the draft. So technically, that's supposed to mean they're not eligible for federal work grants, right?
Yeah,
that's
because
the rule.
I don't sign it.
Yeah. But here's the deal. For me and you, if we didn't sign up for the draft, that follows us for life. For an illegal alien, not signing up for the draft has a 5-year statute of limitations when being applied to work study.
Bullshit.
Because if they can't be prosecuted for it, then they can't be held against them. And that's unique for illegal aliens, not for us. So for us, we could be in our 80s and say, "Oh no, sorry, you don't get this federal benefit because you forgot to sign up for the draft." I did. It's not me, but like someone like us, an American
person, right?
Versus an illegal alien, if they're caught 5 years, 1 day after their 18th birthday, 5 years, 1 day after they're no longer draft eligible.
I remember the day I turned 18, the card showed up in the mail. Like it was waiting for me to sign because we didn't have the internet back then. Not like we do now. I remember my mom screaming at you have to sign this. Your life will fall apart if you do not sign it. Yeah. And at the time, I wanted to be rebellious and say no. I signed it anyway. I got it in there. And just now I'm glad I have because the feds will use anything against you. If that was on there, imagine all the charges they throw at you. They throw crap at the wall to see what sticks. And that'd be a big one that sticks, right?
Yeah. I was I'll tell a story. I was a day student at a boarding school in high school, and there weren't parents there for many of the kids to actually do that. So the school actually got all of us men, junior, senior year, whatever year we were turning 18, got us into like a little assembly and literally passed out the paperwork. It's okay.
Wow. Right? Yeah.
Like, here you go.
Wow.
You're going to do this. Many of you are day students. Your parents will tell you, but since many of you are boarding students from all across the country, all across the world even, You're going to do this right now, and you're not leaving the room until you do it, because our job is to get you prepared for college. And if you don't do this, you lose college aid. So you're going to do it right now. And they wouldn't let us out until we did it. Until we
How
did
many
it.
people had their loans forgiven by Biden who didn't fill this out?
Yeah.
That'd be the other part of it, because they selectively choose who would get those loans. And if you were a person that didn't sign it, they might just give it to you, right? Screw the system.
I cover this in my book. When you look at the rate in which illegal aliens do sign up for the military, and if you were to apply that rate to selective service, it's millions of illegal aliens have committed felonies. It's a felony. It's a felony. I mean, aside from everything else, that's a felony, right? But no, Chuck Schumer now says he wants to give amnesty to 11 million undocumented, quote, or however many there are, end quote.
Are they going to get a provisional ballot too?
They're actually now leaving it open ended, where it's like however many there are, that's what we'll do. So you know what's going to happen the day after that bill signs. There's going to be a rush at the border, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, I was here already. You can't prove I wasn't. I was here already."
By all those organizations, like, well, we're going to have to get you registered to vote. Let's get you that mail-in ballot too. Let's get all that paperwork to your house. Make sure it gets turned into this person, so it gets turned in. So you can go to this ballot harvesting states and just collect them, man. I mean, they think we're crazy for saying that they're trying to replacement. Like the replacement theory isn't real, but here they are executing the plan of a replacement theory.
About it. They're awfully excited about doing everything they need to do.
Because the only way what happens when groups realize that they're competing for the same piece of the pie? And African Americans realize that they had been given that carrot on a stick for 70 years and it never changed. And a group who's never been here immediately gets everything they were promised. Everything.
Imagine being told that, oh, see that rainbow? On the other end of the rainbow, there's a pot of gold. You follow the rainbow, you get there, and no, there's some Hondurans.
Somebody else sitting on it.
There's some Costa Ricans just taking it.
Right.
Forget
Barbecues
it. You don't deserve
replaced by taco shops.
Yeah.
And it just is, right? Imagine how hard this is going to affect everybody, right? American citizens don't matter anymore. And the Democratic Party is willing to adopt criminals and violent people from around the earth, an unlimited number, just so they can get the vote.
It's true. It is
and
true.
We see it every day, but they call us crazy.
Happy Good Friday.
Happy Good Friday.
Things keep getting worse. Things keep getting worse.
We're pointing it out, though, and that's part of the fight, right?
We're pointing out. It's not just pointing out, it's trying to tie everything together, because these things aren't happening in a vacuum. Everything is connected. Everything affects itself. We didn't get into the bridge conspiracy theories. I don't know if you've seen those. Those are wild.
All I can see right now. I mean, the claims that it's a cyber attack, they took it over.
I don't know. I just know that they declared that the investigation was over after 7 hours. That's wild. That they knew the exact cause after 7 hours.
They haven't even gotten to the ship yet. Have they even gotten to the black box on it? Have they even seen any of the data drop out? Okay.
And there was time missing. There was time missing on the black box. But
you're kidding. What?
Yep.
I'm telling you, man.
2 minutes, crucial 2 minutes are missing, but investigation over. We'll have to talk about that next week.
I want that. Yeah.
We're out of time.
Our people will want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because it's happening.
Some of the conspiracies are wild. Like, I still believe sometimes something is just what you see it and think it is. Sometimes boats just hit bridges, but some of these conspiracy theories are like, oh, that's interesting. So we'll cover that next week. Happy Easter, everyone. Happy Good Friday. That's it for this edition of the podcast. If you like the podcast, all the links below, check them out. Subscribe, like, follow, thumbs up, comment. We do appreciate it. We do appreciate you. That's it for this edition. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
And remember, everyone, the fight to take back the country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all snap and fight together. See you next time. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.